Hey everyone, Eggman here with another video, and today we've got special guest Carl. How you doing today?
I'm doing well. How about you?
Doing well, thank you. Last weekend you played in TAX Online Webcam Regional, which was a best of one tournament with a 256 cap, which I think was hit, and you went X1 with this Black Gogeta Xeno deck that came out in this most recent, or not in Battle Evolution, but came out in Vicious Rejuvenation back in January.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so this is a really cool leader. I haven't seen a lot of experimentation with it, and when I made my entire overview video for the entire event, I was kind of stumbling about what the cards do, and probably made some bad guesses on what was going on. So I definitely appreciate you reaching out for this, and I want to go over, as the pilot, your opinion on the deck itself, and how it works and everything else like that.
Okay. Yeah. So when I started out playing, I think it was set three. I started
Hmm.
with the Bardock leader from the starter
Yeah,
deck,
yeah,
and
Mass Saiyan.
that's when I really took off with black, and I enjoyed it. And I got back to it when the Vegeks starter deck came out, and
Hmm.
I mean it got hit two or three times, and
Yes.
I was kind of tired of trying to full out the deck for stuff that was getting banned. And I mean, honestly, the leader, I just kind of got burned on it. It seemed like it was all the same to me.
Hmm.
And so when they announced this one, uh, it looked like it had a little bit more lines of play to it, and just versatility. So that's really what I was looking forward to. And I mean,
For
it's been a blast playing it.
Yeah, for sure. And I would say, in my opinion, Gogeta, like in this deck in general, is probably more of what they were trying to obtain with Vegex, but they ended up making a broken mess. This one,
Yeah.
I think, is more has probably some fair restrictions and kind of has the more idea of a mid range kind of black control deck instead of just being a minion rush kind of thing. So, real quick, I'm going to just explain the leader for people who like me who didn't know what it did before this weekend. Auto once per turn, when you play a battle card using Union Fusion, you get to draw one card. Which we get a bunch of those targets later. And then also auto when this card attacks, draw one, then add up to one card from your life to your hand. And also active main once per turn, you can send up the top five cards from the top of your deck to your warp, which makes it a little bit easier, or a little bit harder to abuse, but which I think was the big thing with Vegix. Five cards to your drop area is very detrimental, like very very good, but five cards to your warp, you have to have like specific cards to abuse it, which this leader does. It's an untap and draw one with four or less. It doesn't have any like X cards and warp condition like Vegix has too. And then it has the same Union Fusion auto, same with the drawing one and top five cards to warp. And also activating once per turn, you can add one card from your life to your hand, choose up to two of your black battle cards, and a cost of one, and they get plus 10k power and until the end of your opponent's next turn.
Yeah.
So, and real quick, I know we do have a bunch of one drop weenies. How often do you say you use the Awakened Side active main on this guy?
Uh, I would say pretty much every game when I know that I can push for the win.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So if I'm able to blow out the unison on the opponent's side, or if I'm able to get the Supreme Kai secret rare and just wipe everything, then if I feel like I can go in and take it, I'm always going to pick that extra card up. Even if I had I think two games where I may have only had one drop out or none at all, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm just doing it just to get that extra card.
For sure. So let's talk maybe about the normal turn one, two, three, like what you really want to see. I know there's a bunch of these one drops here that are really great. They're great because they're flexible in what they do. We already know that Black Mass is really good. Vegeta True Fighting Spirit is great against things switching active mode. Son Goku's really good at hand destruction. Like there's so many counter skills going on right now, and then there's also the other one that's just a big double strike. I'm guessing this is potentially a good way to end the game because you can make this a 25k pretty easily if it's out on the board with your leader effect.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So turn one, I'm usually trying to have. I mean, it just depends on what I'm playing against, but I'll try
Mm-hmm.
to have a one drop,
Mm-hmm.
one of my overwhelm threes, and then a Pycon.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I've had a few games where I draw into two Pycons, which isn't ideal, but if I can go ahead and ramp him to three on turn one,
Mm-hmm.
and then, I mean, it's hard to put any pressure against him without your opponent having to, lay a card out to go against it.
Mm-hmm.
And especially with The 6-drop Gogeta, it's a requirement that your opponent has 2 energy. So for some reason, you get to keep that Pycon with 3 markers on board. You just neg it and play it on that turn 2, even if you won the dice roll. So it's a pretty powerful play that it can do. But yeah, usually if I lose the dice roll and they play something out that I know I'm to get rid of, I usually try to get the 6-drop Gogeta in hand, or opening hand. Also the
super rare
blocker
one.
that'll warp before less.
Okay, yeah.
I think that's honestly one of the most important cards in the deck. I always try to get that turn 1, just because they're usually playing a Black Messiah out or something like that, and
and it's a 16k too, so it gets. I mean, I guess Union Fusion is also a keyword skill, so.
Yeah, so, and with it being a 16k, I mean, it also forces them to pitch 1, maybe 2, to try to get it off the board, because no one likes to see it stay on the board. And but usually, if I can do that turn 1, if my mills are right, with Goku Vegeta in the warp, I can, Union, warp whatever they have 4 or less. I'm drawing 1, and I just combo the Kai in my hand if I need to with a leader swing, and I can already do my overwhelm 3. And so my turn 1, if I lose a dice roll, I can still apply a lot of pressure and pop whatever they put on the board against me.
For sure. I mean, your leader can essentially draw 3 if you're going second, because you get to swing, draw 1 from top of deck, 1 from life, and then if you Union Fusion 2, that's just 3 card cycle just for playing the deck, which I think can gain a lot of advantage and get very consistent. Because right now your deck runs 53 cards, which, especially since you send so many cards to your warp, I think is really, really good.
Yeah.
And and then there's also the promo, the Supreme Kai of Time, Summon Another Dimension. This has an active main. If your lead card is Black Saiyan only card, you can place this card at the bottom of your deck from your warp. If you don't have a Unison card in play, choose 1 black Unison card with no specified cost, 15k power in your hand, or warp. Play with a marker on it, and you can't play Unison cards for the turn. That seems really, really good.
Yeah, so that's what, and it just depends on what I feel like they can go up with me against. But if I'm able to, I mean, I'm always going to play that turn 1 if I'm able to get her in the warp. And I mean, I'll plus up the Pycon, put 1 underneath it if I need to, and I'll leave a blocker out if need be. But I know if it's unexpected, I mean, I can, like I said, play out the 6-drop or play out the other 6-drop that's double strike, turns himself into dual attack easily or early as my turn 2, and then I just over him and play the Pycon all over again for free. So it's a lot of value it adds, especially if you can keep the Pycon protected a little bit.
For sure. And so you're only running one of the promo SS3 Gogeta, the one that you can retap. Is that strictly because, and I know this card's really hard to get to right now, is that the case, or did one just feel right?
No, it's just the more I've played it, the less I've used it, honestly. I mean, I'm never going to tap 3 or put myself in a position where I have to tap 3 for it, because I'm usually trying to win turn 3, turn 4, and really the only way I'm going to bring that out is by negging 3 on the Pycon, and that's if I feel like they're not going to counterplay and just pop it. But
yeah.
I feel like 1 is the right amount, because usually that when I'm up to 3 energy, if I have the Kai, do that, or just play more Union Fusions on board for 1 energy, and I'm still saving energy for going in with the Champa.
Sure. And there's also and the other Union Fusion target we haven't talked about yet is the super rare from the set. And also, I don't know if we've said this out right, but you can do these Union Fusion. They all have the permanent that you can choose cards in your warp and send them to your drop area instead, which is really good, especially because it essentially puts 2 cards into your drop area, so you can start up with your overrun plays as well, and that kind of stuff. But it just has like for example, you're having like the unrelenting assault Trunks, right? That's just because it's a constant way to constant way to just put cards from your drop into your warp area. Is that right?
Yeah, and I mean with that card, I never truly lose. Like, if I'm milling it to the warp, I'm just adding it straight to hand. If I don't have the time regulator, I mean, and I don't need to put a Kai in the warp if I already have one, I mean, I'm adding him back to my hand after I overrun for him anyway. So I think having him at 4 is almost needed. I mean, I had
I mean, it's free
maybe,
draws, right? Like worst case, it's free draws
yeah.
because I definitely think this is like an oversight because this card came out like 3 years ago. But
Yeah.
yeah, because it's also just from the deck to the warp, so you can just if you mill it, you just get it to your hand for free, which is really nice.
Yeah, and so even if I don't have Overwhelm set up on turn one, if
Hmm.
I'm, able to mill them, I'm adding them to hand, and I'm overwhelming them anyways and adding them back to hand when I'm done with my turn. So
Hmm.
it's a lot of value it provides for it just being a 15K with not much else, especially with Black not having or not being known, I guess, for having too much of a hand size. I
Hmm.
mean, it helps. It helps tremendously.
For sure, for sure. Going back to this Union Fusion though, it does have the activating for so it's Union Fusion for one black, which is I think pretty good, especially because it's a 20k with barrier. But it also has the active main. Place this card from the bottom of your place this card at the bottom of your deck. Play up to one Son Goku Xeno with any cost of one, and one Vegeta Xeno with a cost of one from your drop area or warp. So is this really? Do you use that kind of thing to pop back to get your one drops back, and then like obviously the Son Goku True Fighting Spirit and Vegeta True Fighting Spirit. Both these are just really good just being on the field anyways because it makes it really obnoxious for your opponent. Is that kind of like what do you do that pretty often or?
Well, I feel like honestly, that's probably the lesser use of the Union Fusions.
Okay.
I mean, it's still really good, but like I said, if I'm trying to win, on my turn three or turn four at the latest, I mean, it starts to get where, it eats up too much of my energy bringing it out.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But I mean, it still adds a lot of value. If I already have one drops on the field, I'm probably not unless I just know they're going to negate and I'm just trying to get those true fightings on the board
Mm-hmm.
to,
Mm-hmm.
just wipe their hand out.
Yeah.
But if I'm already well established, I'm probably saving that energy for, like I said, either the Kai or the double strike
Gotcha.
combo.
Gotcha. And then is there a way to recycle the super combo? I remember thinking about that there might have been a way, but uh, is there not? Because it is a Vegeta Xeno, and I can't remember if
Yeah,
there.
no, because it's two cost.
That's right. Okay,
So if
that's
it's
right.
a
Because he
one
only
cost, you
gets.
can play it out, and I'd be
Gotcha.
even happier with the deck. So
Yeah, for sure. I mean, still just making like having your super combo being on flavor though, really helps. Because even if you warp it, worst case, it's a 5k that you can do, and go into your Union Fusion stuff, which is super nice.
yeah, having that synergy, I mean, alone between that card and what we're trying to do with the deck, I think it helps out a lot.
And then I'd say, so obviously your secret rare is Kai because this card's just broken on so many ways. Just being able to play it offensively or defensively is, I mean, you can just play this for one energy and then you have a 40k double striker with hidden power and just get in the game with that.
Yeah,
Are
I mean, it saved me for sure in two games.
mm-hmm.
I hadn't even played against the King Piccolo deck, but I
Mm,
knew it was something I needed to practice against, and I got like a little brief rundown on it. And one of the games, I wasn't able to clear the unison out fast enough, and I'm worried about the counterplays, counterattacks, just negging my true fighting spirits and just wiping them off the board. So
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
if I have to, I'll even save it to my turn, and I'll just wipe everything out after I attack with it if it need be.
Yeah, yeah. Because I mean, you kind of have a mix of like either your stuff is moderately free or they cost energy. So having this for 2 energy is still fine for a board clear, I imagine. So if you need to hold
Yeah.
on to that. I guess the last kind of cards we haven't talked about. So you got the Super Saiyan 4 Bardock, just overwhelm dual attack. Such a good finisher for a lot of decks. I'm guessing this was just it's better than double strike because most of the time just getting the attack in is more important than having it be a double strike attack.
Yeah, and I have been running it at three up until the tournament, but I was like, I feel like I'm seeing it too often. So
Mm-hmm.
the 4-3-2 of my overwhelm cards, I felt was a really good mix on it because, I mean, it is a little bit more difficult to go into the Bardock
Mm-hmm.
unless you're saving, a turn's worth of Union Fusioning.
For
So,
sure. Yeah, because the Union Fusion is the only way that you actually fill up your drop area because otherwise your leader just fills up your warp. But
mhm.
yeah, I can see that. And also yeah, because Vegeta puts the bottom of the deck. And then also Mass Saiyan, just super good. Did you use his active battle at all? Or not as much.
um, on whose?
The Mass Saiyan Brainwash no more.
Oh, no, I was actually, I mean, I was fully prepared to.
Mm-hmm.
if I had to go against Sin Shenron, which I don't believe I did in this tournament, luckily, but one of my best friends, I mean, he plays that deck exclusively, and
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how many times I've gotten Cell Xeno'd on turn two. The deck's more aggro than mine, so it's very frustrating. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that card, it's definitely a game changer. Just even having two of those in, and
Mm-hmm.
um,
I would
being able to
say
combat.
I guess more of the question too is just because like if someone's trying to build up, I'd say most of this is budget friendly. Besides maybe the Bardock overwhelms are the most expensive, and maybe the Kai. But I'm thinking like those are just kind of extra flavor for it. The main core for this deck I
Yeah,
think is super cheap for anyone who wants to get into it. I mean, Pycon's a super rare that's $1. That's crazy.
yeah,
And
I think it's all still pretty cheap, and like I said, it has the versatility and the different lines of play. I
mm-hmm,
mean, you're Union Fusion and you're bringing stuff out if you need to, or you're just playing as many one drops as you can
mm-hmm,
to, neg the cards out of their hand. So there's a good amount of stuff you can do and ways to play around,
for
I
sure.
believe.
For sure. All right. So two more questions. First, would you add? So I know you have 53 cards. Did that feel right, or did it feel like you were close to milling out at all? Because I know that you send 5 to the warp, and unlike Vegix, this doesn't have a condition to refill your deck afterwards. So if you mill out, you mill out. What's your thoughts
Well,
on that?
I think I try to keep it as close to 50 as I can, but I
Mm-hmm.
felt like I needed the Dark Power Black Mass Sand, and
Mm-hmm.
so that's why I put it in. But uh, as long as you're paying attention to how many Goku and Vegetas you're putting in your warp, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, you're really fine because this you don't have to do it, and it's up to 5.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, usually you just want to have two or so, and two of each, and you're going to end up recycling them with your overwhelms anyway. So you don't need to be put in a position where you have to, unless you're just not seeing the Kai.
Mm-hmm.
Then it can get a little hairy, I guess. But yeah, other than that, I mean, I got to 10 cards or less, I think, one of my games, but I was able to finish it, and it was no issue.
Yeah, and that's a good point. That you don't have the active main is not necessary for card draw. So I guess on the awakened side it is, but it still says up to 5. It doesn't say, exactly 5. So that's a big thing to point out. And then second, if there are any cards that you're on offense about that you think you should have added, or any quick changes you'd make to this list from the tournament experience.
Um, Honestly, I'd borderline bump the tag team Gohan to 4.
Mm-hmm.
'Cause, I mean, that card it's just good. Plain
Mm-hmm.
simple, it's good. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
if you're trying to win early, especially, I mean, it's basically another free overrealm.
It really is because your Gogeta that pops itself can play it for free still, right? Because
Hmm.
yeah, just you can just do
Yeah.
some silly things like that.
So it just adds a good amount of value. Like I said, I'd probably take out the Dark Power Black Mesa and just sideboard it. Just try
Mm-hmm.
to stick it close to 50 as I can.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, I'd say that's probably it.
Cool. And then lastly, we'll talk about your matchups because you did go X1. What was your one loss for the entire tournament?
It was against Baby. It
Okay.
was another deck I haven't played against. I mean, I knew it just countered a lot, but
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
not entirely with what else it did.
Yeah.
But which I think he even made a comment on. Like I was not able to see my one drops out, so he's playing his counterplay Goten or Gohan, where I got a bottom
Mm,
deck a card every time,
gotcha.
and I'm not able to get my cards out where he has to drop for counter, and so it
Yeah.
was a little rough.
Sure. Sure.
Um,
Yeah, and this was a best of one format, which is why there's no side deck. And so yeah, obviously if you can't see your things in game one, you're not getting a game two, which can be kind of tricky at
yeah.
times. Cool. And then what was so for your other matches? Any notable wins, or what would you say this has the best matchups against?
Um, I mean, I felt like the matchup against King Piccolo was pretty decent.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, my second game I played, I mean, we were matched. My combo power for his.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, but I didn't feel like I was really putting myself in a bad spot against that. I know I struggle against Sin Shenron. Like I said,
Mm-hmm.
you never know what it's going to do until it's turn two,
Yes, exactly.
and that's when it just goes from there.
Yeah.
And you just kind of got to hope you guessed right, I guess. But
Mm-hmm.
I guess against blue, it struggles a little bit too. If you're just if they're able to counter everything you do. It's hard trying to kill them on turn 3 when you know they're going to hatch check you on turn 3.
Yes,
So
for sure.
the longer they're able to draw that out, obviously, the easier it is for them. But played against green a little bit. I don't know if I was able to this weekend, but I mean, usually I'm swiping at the Demeager Unison as much as I can. I'm just trying not to get counterplayed. So we're able to avoid that a little bit. We're going to do all right.
Sure, for sure. I mean, there are some barrier, like the super rare one does have barrier, but yeah, I can see a lot of susceptibility to that in the deck.
Yeah, and going against also Vegeks, I think it was the first time I played it, or probably first or second time I played against Vegeks with this deck, and just even if they're bringing out that Demeager for 2 energy, I mean, it's a lot of value it adds, but they're still spinning a lot. And the ability that I have to just, they can play blockers for free, but not if they're not warping my Black Saiyan. Whereas, I'm playing my Unison and I'm warping or not my Unison, my Union Fusion, and I'm warping their Black Saiyan. So having those blockers out was pretty good. I mean,
for sure. I mean, just being able to have an answer to what most people would think would be the easy counter to this deck, I think is a big help as well.
Yeah, for not running really any negates, I mean, it has pretty.
I was about to say I forgot to ask that. Any negates, or you think you're fine with no negates in your deck?
I mean, I felt like it's been better without it. I think the Brainwash No More does more than enough for the deck. I mean, I haven't found myself in a spot where someone's trying to single strike me too often, unless I just aggressively take too much life on my turn prior. But yeah, I mean, I don't want to put myself where, because you don't always see your super combos where
for sure
I have the power burst in hand when I really just need another 5k.
Yeah, I think because like this deck doesn't have sparking very easily because of how it's weird. I'd say if you wanted to add negates to the deck, there is the Goku Xeno one. That's just the 1-drop. It doesn't have any combo power with it, but I think that might just be an idea to jive, especially like if you can't afford Brainwash No More. I think that might be something to try out, just because it does it's a Goku, so it's more targets for Union Fusions, and it is a hard negate as well.
Yeah.
So cool. All right, that's it for me. That's all my questions. Anything for me or the audience before we end it out?
Just want to say thank you to the guys at the local game store that have helped me get better at playing this deck. I mean, that's all I really wanted to do, and
definitely
they just helped prep me for the tournament this past weekend. I don't think I would have did as well without them taking their time to do so. So. Definitely.
You gotta appreciate the people who test, especially when you have annoying decks. They're patient with you still. So, all right. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. And I appreciate getting insights on a deck that I don't know very much about. So, and I hope you guys appreciate it too. And that's going to be it for us. So thank you again, and I'll catch you all next time.
Yeah, thanks for having me.